Most people use AI like a search engine. You ask a question, you get an answer. When I tried to use AI to coach my life, that was exactly the problem. Large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini are not just search engines. You're barely scratching the surface of what these tools can actually do. In my last video, I admitted that I failed to use AI to coach my life. And the biggest problem was chatbot amnesia. Every day I would tell AI about my wrist injury and that I didn't have access to a squat rack. But by day 3, it would forget. At first, I thought this would be simple. I'd ask AI for workouts and meal plan and probably even some motivation. But it got frustrating really soon. Every time I went back, I had to explain everything again. My goals, my schedule, my injury, what I had for my meal plan, and what I trained last week. Explaining your life over and over again is not fun, and I wanted a coach who knows me. And that is why I stopped using basic chats and built Jarvis 2.0, which is a Gemini Gem that makes this so much better. But first, let's understand what a Gemini Gem is. It's essentially a personalized custom AI assistant that is built on the Google Gemini platform and is able to handle specific tasks for you. You're able to save time by giving it preloaded instructions and preferences, like, for example, certain dietary needs or workout styles. And you can also share notes and documents so that it has more context and is able to give you consistent and tailored responses. And the best part about this is you don't need any coding experience to build one. Now you can also do this with ChatGPT projects, but for my workflow, Gemini works better. This is mainly because I live in the Google ecosystem. So Jarvis, the custom AI assistant that I have built, is not just a chatbot. He's actually integrated. And what that means is Jarvis can actually check my calendar for meetings and recommend a workout slot, or set reminders and add it to my Google tasks. And when I'm having a conversation about meal plan, Jarvis is able to create a grocery list and add it to Google Keep. And in my opinion, this makes a big difference in terms of how AI assistants can help you in your day-to-day life. So with that, let's get into the demo. Before I show you how to build Jarvis 2.0, let me zoom out for a second. This is not limited to a personal assistant or a weight loss trainer. There are so many other things that you could do with Gemini Gems. For example, you could build an AI career coach that knows your goals, tracks applications, and helps you with interview preps. Or you could build an AI financial assistant that looks at your spending, reminds you of bills, and keeps you accountable towards your savings goal. Or if you're like me and you're starting a YouTube channel, it's always good to have an AI content assistant that could help you with scripting, especially in the beginning, or you can even run ideas past it. Same AI, different levels of usefulness. Okay, let's now get into the demo. First, a disclaimer. As of filming this video, you can only create a gem on the desktop version of Gemini and not your mobile phone. But once you build it, you can see it appear in your Gemini app on the phone. So with that, we essentially first log into gemini.google.com on your browser of choice. And as you can see, I'm on the home page, which is essentially a chat window with Gemini. And you can also see here that it's a free version and not a paid version. In order for us to see where our gems are, we essentially click on this expand button and you will see different options. You'll see your past conversations. You'll also see an option for a new chat, my stuff, and then gems. So this is where we are going to get into. We click on gems and we go to the gem manager. And there's also something called gems made by labs. So labs is essentially some experimental options that you have. I won't be covering that in today's video, but I might make another video to explain what labs is all about on Gemini. So then we scroll down to gem manager, where you have some pre-made options by Google, which you can test and see how gems work. But where we need to go is essentially create a new gem. So we click on this button, which opens up a dialog box where you need to give the information on how the gem needs to respond. So this is where you start with giving it a name of your choice, then a description, just briefly explaining what the gem is and what it does, and then instructions. And this is the most important part of the gem, where you're essentially giving it a set of instructions to make sure that the conversations as well as responses are tailored and consistent. Now, there are a couple of other options I'll quickly touch upon. So you can also select what kind of tools that you want to use from Gemini. So you have it as default, which is the normal conversations you have with Gemini, then deep research, which looks at which is more advanced in terms of the research it does before it answers. For example, I have a gem at work. I work as a consultant and I use this for market analysis. So I have a chat every week to understand what's happening. Takes a bit of time, but it's very good in terms of the research that it pulls up. Then creating images. If you want to create a gem that only generates images, then this option would be what you would choose. Then you have the option of canvas and guided learning as well. So again, play around, test it out. There are different options available. And then finally, the last piece, which is also very important for the gem that we are building out today, which is essentially where you build the knowledge. So you can actually upload files here so that Gemini can access it every time you have a conversation to understand more about what the instructions that are given to this gem. So before we start typing here, we'll first go look at what else we need to build before we get started. So essentially, what we need to do is we build the brain of this gem. So we are giving it a set of instructions that it needs to follow whenever it has conversations with you, so that it is able to give the best responses for what you're trying to do. So in this case, I wanted to build Jarvis 2.0, which is essentially a life coach and a personal trainer. So I am giving it certain instructions that it needs to do so that it understands me better. It is able to give responses that are tailored to me. I have divided the instructions into about 8 different sections, and then there is one optional section. So there is a monthly challenge protocol. I'll talk about it in the next few minutes. So we have the core identity, tone of how the conversations need to be, user context constraints. So this is where you give information about yourself so that the AI is able to understand you better. What's the daily protocol, like how do the interactions happen on a day-to-day basis, and then monthly challenge protocol, response and feedback mechanisms, which is essentially what happens when, let's say, I haven't finished my workout. So what kind of feedback mechanisms does it need to use? You don't want an AI which is too harsh as well. And then memory and continuity, which is what I have built this gem based on. So it's essentially something where it is able to look up the files that I have uploaded every single time, so that I don't need to keep giving it instructions every single time. It is able to see what's happened in the past, what is the current state of play, and then make sure that our conversations are more real time, and it understands what's the work that has been done. Failure and recovery. What are the options? What are some of the things that AI can basically say and not say? Again, we want Jarvis to be encouraging. We want Jarvis to be motivating to make sure that we follow it through the year. And then finally, scheduling protocol, which looks at how what Gemini can do, and this is what sets it apart. Like, for example, how it can access Google Calendar, tasks, and Google Keep, and makes this so much more seamless. All right, so let's get into this. We also have created 2 more files that we are going to upload that I spoke about. This is going to be the memory aspect of it. So I will link all of this in the description. So this is where on a weekly basis, I update my stats so that Gemini can go have a look into it and see how the week was. And the second thing, again, this could be optional, but I would highly recommend it, is essentially I will upload every single conversation. So at the end of every day conversation, I ask Jarvis to summarize the conversation for me, and then I copy paste it here. You can all do this on your mobile phone, so it's very simple, so that it knows exactly what the conversations have happened in the past. So the first section, giving it an identity and tone, Jarvis 2.0, dedicated life coach, personal trainer, what's the persona that you want. Again, make sure you customize this. I will leave a link in the description, but customize it to what you like. For example, I want Jarvis to be funny and sometimes sarcastic, but not judgmental. So again, this is something that you can customize to what you want it to be. The next section is the user context, where I give all the information about who I am, what are my constraints, what are my goals, and what are the areas that I want to work on, and also what is the nutritional constraints that I have, or what do I want to focus on. So this section is very important so that Jarvis or like Gemini knows everything about you. And then next we have daily interaction protocol, where I will be doing check-ins every day at 8 p.m. One, to let Jarvis know how the day was, and so that it can be tracked for future, as well as plan for the next day. So this is where I want Jarvis to ask me a bunch of questions. I've defined the questions which you can customize. So there is a different check-in questions for weekdays as well as weekends, where it's going to be much longer conversation, and then I can actually do some meal planning as well during that time. And then we look at the monthly challenge protocol. Again, like I said, this is optional. For me, I wanted to build Jarvis not just as a weight loss trainer, but as a habit building coach. So that's something that I'm focusing on this year. So this is essentially where Jarvis gives me a new challenge every month. This month's challenge is Ghost Kitchen and Empty Cart. I will save that for another video. I will share how I've done in Jan on that challenge, which is essentially trying to limit my Uber Eats spending, which was insanely embarrassing last year, as well as Amazon shopping. All right, so make sure you're subscribed for that video. And then we look at response and feedback mechanisms. So this is where I give some limitations in terms of how many workouts I can do, what's the meal plan protocol, scheduling protocol, failure protocol. So this is essentially all information about response and feedback. And then moving on to the section around memory and continuity. And this is very important. Because this is where we are giving instructions to Gemini or Jarvis to make sure that every single time we have a conversation, it goes and checks the knowledge base, which is essentially these 2 files, where we are tracking weekly metrics as well as daily conversations. I like to use spreadsheets, but you can essentially use Google Docs, Google presentations, slides, whatever you like. And then failure and recovery. So just in terms of how, like I said, you don't want AI to be very rude or strict. I mean, strict is fine, but just some protocols around how failure is going to be treated by this gem. And then looking at scheduling, and this is the important part. This is more of a fail-safe that I've built into the instructions, where once I have the conversation at 8 p.m. with Jarvis, and we have a discussion about what's the best time. So Jarvis can go look up my calendar, find a slot for a workout. Once that's done, Jarvis can actually create a calendar invite as well. So the calendar invite is created and with all the information about what the workout is and what I'll be doing tomorrow, so that it just removes friction, removes that guesswork. And the other option is I've given this URL where it's going to build out a link. So in case there are some issues with actually creating a calendar invite, then I can just click on it and it creates the calendar invite with all the same information. And also give instructions around where you are so that it gets the time right. Like for example, I'm in Sydney, Australia. So this is instruction around where the what the calendar invite should be, like the location, and accordingly the time. And finally, conclusion. So this is essentially at the end of every conversation. I want a summary and what's the next action that I need to be taking, what's the micro habit that I'm tracking, and essentially the calendar invite link here. So this is the entire brain. Now, there are two things that we can do. One is we essentially link this file into our gem in the knowledge base here and give instructions to Jarvis or the Gemini Gem to read into it. Or the simple one is essentially you copy it, doesn't matter formatting, it will understand, and then paste it here. So I've just copy pasted the entire instructions, which is the brain. And then I'm gonna just give it a name, Jarvis 2.0, description, personal coach and weight loss trainer. And then come to the last section, which is the knowledge section, where you select the two files that we have created. Here, there are multiple options. Again, you can upload PDFs, you can upload any kind of files. But for my use case, when I'm building Jarvis, the gem needs to, one, look at the documents, but also we should be able to update it, which is why I have chosen the Google spreadsheets, which it can read every time we have a conversation, but also I can keep updating on the go. So that's add from your drive. You can upload photos. You can also link your Notebook LM, which is another tool by Google, which is, again, it's very helpful, especially for deep research or like more advanced gems that you can build out. Okay, so I'm just gonna click add to drive here. I see the two files here. I'm just gonna go to my drive. And then I see the two files. So I link the Jarvis 2.0 tracker and the Jarvis conversation tracker. Okay. And once these two files are built, before we hit save, we can do a preview. So let's just double check everything. Okay. So I'll just go here and say, hi, Jarvis. And it automatically pulls all the information. So here it is. So hello there, Jarvis 2.0 at your service. Like you can see, it's read all the instructions and it's talking about check-in. So you don't need to repeat your instructions again and again, which is the beauty of these gems, or you can build this in ChatGPT projects as well. And we can say, hey, can you help me plan for tomorrow, and also give me some options for meal plan. And as you can see, it knows that I have access to a gym. It knows like I'm having some injury issues, so joint safe, low impact. So it knows everything about you, which is the beauty of this. And then even when it comes to meal plan, it knows it's high fiber, no red meat. So it gives you options based on what you have specified as your preferences. So this is like, once, let's say I say, okay, 10 p.m. No, sorry. Confirm your time so I can generate your calendar invite. Okay, I'll say I'll go for a 6 p.m. swim session. Can you add it to my calendar? As you can see, it creates a calendar invite. Automatically, it's linked to your Google Calendar. It's created a calendar invite, and you can see it. And it's also shared where it is, what's the time, everything is taken care of. And I can do the same with meal plan. Can you generate a grocery list for my meal plan and add it to Google Keep? So it knows what it has suggested, and then it has created a list with all the ingredients. So this is a preview. It's essentially put together all the ingredients that you need for the meal planning. Again, you can ask it to do more things as well. You can link your nearest grocery chain, like wherever you buy groceries, it can go look into it, look at the price and make sure it gives you all that information, as well as how much you need of each of these ingredients. So again, super helpful. So once you're happy with it, you click save, and then once that's done, you can start a new chat, and then it takes you to Jarvis 2.0. So this is, as you can see, it's different from your normal chat. Now when you go to Gems, again, you can see that your gem is under My Gems section. Or if you need to if you go to Gemini and land at Gemini, you can essentially see it under Gems. You'll see Jarvis 2.0. So that's Jarvis, a custom AI assistant using Gemini Gems. Not an app, not a paid subscription, just a better way of using AI. And most importantly, it's completely free. This is how you move away from just doing Q&A with AI to actually partnering with it. Jarvis now lives on my phone and is ready to pivot as my life changes. If you want me to build this system using ChatGPT projects, comment ChatGPT and I'll make another video for it. And if you're interested in following how I use AI for my weight loss transformation, building good habits, and life in general, consider subscribing to this channel.